Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming to the Brick City. I want to acknowledge to my right Amtrak Chair Tony Kosha, President, CEO Steve Gardner, Diane Scacchetti is our Chief of Staff and former Chair of NJ Transit. To her left, Kevin Corbett and Fran O'Connor, NJ Transit Board Chair, and their colleagues. I convened this meeting for an obvious reason, and what I'm about to say, I think, is sentiment.
Can you pause for 1 second?
Sure.
I'm getting some interference, and I can't hear your voice.
That's usually a good thing.
Yes, I apologize for the stepping in. I apologize.
No worries. You good?
I'm good.
Wow. We should consider putting a cut on this table.
I have just the tool for this.
Be careful, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't worry.
Thank you, Governor. You're very gracious. Thank you.
My pleasure. You set?
Yes, he's getting there. We appreciate it.
Okay. I'm going to give you another 20 seconds, and then we're going to jump in.
We're good.
We good? Okay. Any event, let me repeat what I just said. Thank you all for coming to Newark this afternoon. I want to acknowledge the Amtrak team led by Tony Kosha and Steve Gardner, NJ Transit, Fran O'Connor and Kevin Corbett, and Diane Scacchetti to my left, and their colleagues. And I convened this meeting for obvious reasons. And what I'm about to say, I think, are sentiments held by literally everyone at this table. The performance of late across the board has been unacceptable. As Tony mentioned in our private discussions, people don't care why it happened. They want to get home. They want to get to work. They want to see their kids. They want to get to school, whatever it is. And this has to be a collective effort that is focused on the substance of getting this right. We also have to accept the reality that in both organizations, you've got decades of underinvestment, which, you know, we're making up for lost time on both sides of the house here and doing the best that we can. But the commitment, the absolute commitment to both organizations from our office and from me personally is to get stuff fixed. Amtrak is going to send out, I think almost even concurrent with these remarks, a press release with a whole series of very specific steps that in most cases both organizations will be taking jointly together. Heightened level of inspections, a higher cadence of getting in the room together, plans to address whether it's catenary, pantograph, or other issues that are out there in a cooperative, teamwork-focused way across both organizations. And in fact, we had specific discussions about follow-up meetings that may happen as soon as this afternoon. But I will say this must be fixed. There's no choice. We also have to accept the environment in which we're operating. Mother Nature is out there. As I mentioned, decades of underinvestment that both organizations and our administration are having to make up for. But there is a commitment to absolutely work transparently together in a spirit of teamwork, a spirit of focusing on the substance, a spirit of getting out ahead of problems as best we can, and to make sure that commuters, in our case New Jersey commuters, have the experience that they richly deserve. They've not had that over the past number of weeks. Nobody in this room is happy about that. And we are all committed to doing everything we can to have that experience be as good as it possibly can be. Perhaps, Tony, if I can ask you to say a few words on behalf of Amtrak.
Sure. Thank you, Governor, and appreciate your convening this meeting. And let me say one thing that I want to. If I leave you with no other thought, hopefully I convey this effectively. There isn't a single member of the 20,000 people team at Amtrak that finds what's happened in the commuter experience in the last several weeks to be acceptable. It is, in fact, unacceptable. That's the word we would have used. We hold ourselves to a standard because we understand that we've inherited stewardship over a legacy railroad that, yes, has been the victim of underinvestment for decades, and we have to make up for it. It's a very complicated system, but we believe it is our job to deliver the best possible service, to get people from point A to point B, to do it safely and to do it efficiently. No other performance is acceptable. And clearly, in the last several weeks, we discovered an issue in the interface between Amtrak trains and between Amtrak's infrastructure and New Jersey Transit trains that have caused these issues to reoccur. And we are moving heaven and earth to determine the precise cause of that and to address it. And in the meantime, we've taken mitigation efforts to try to minimize it from happening again. And we're doing everything in our power to do that, whether it's committing people, money, resources, et cetera, to doing it. You know, let's understand that Amtrak and New Jersey Transit in the last 3 years have invested over $500 million in upgrading the infrastructure to make sure that these occurrences are limited. But we are operating an older railroad that has many issues that we have to work on and our challenges day to day. But it is up to us to work effectively between the Amtrak team and the New Jersey Transit team. It is not a commuter's concern as to whether we're coordinating our activities correctly, whether or not we're spending the time or resources. They just want to get home. They just want to get to work. That's all they really care about, and it's our job to deliver that to them. So I am committed, as I know the governor is committed, to doing everything possible within our respective organizations to make sure that that happens. I can't promise you that there won't be instances in the future. Someone asked me the other day, should people rely on commuting via New Jersey Transit or Amtrak given some of the things that happen? And my answer is yes, they should rely on it. And we should be delivering to you a service that gives you the comfort to do that. We will fix these problems. And more problems will occur as we renew this capital. But we will fix these problems, and we will get to a place where the operations are much better than they've been in the last several weeks. And we're hoping that that's an anomaly that we don't have to have people experience again.
Thank you, Tony. Before I ask Kevin to say a word, I want to rewind the clock and revisit history for 1 second. The relationship between Amtrak and the New Jersey administration, or the relationship between Amtrak and NJ Transit before we got here, was not what it needed to be. And one of the first things we did collectively, and I give Tony and Steve and their colleagues a ton of credit. Gary's been here for now 7 years. Kevin and Diane on their side and colleagues, they fixed that immediately. So we start in a good place. This is a constructive, cooperative relationship. That's not an excuse for unacceptable service, but that is a fact. So when we talk about the wreck that we inherited with NJ Transit, part of that wreck was a dysfunctional relationship, and I'm happy to say from day one that has gotten into a different, better, stronger place, and that gives me a lot of confidence that that's a good foundation, notwithstanding the unacceptable service that we could build on. Kevin, please.
Governor, thank you, and just as you said, and Tony, the same thing. We certainly know that it's unacceptable, and we both collectively know that. It's the drilling down to really how do we tackle these problems, whether it's catenary, whether it's signal. We're taking what's coming out of this effort. We have fundamentally good relationships. You look at tremendous progress we're making on the capital side, the Gateway program, Portal Bridge, anybody sees it now, the tunnel project going in. So there's a lot of great things going on, which are the long-term ultimate solution, and long-term now being 2 years from Gateway for the bridge, Portal Bridge, et cetera. But in the interim, this focuses that we really need to make sure we can, as you said, Governor, walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yep.
We have to make sure that we maintain collectively our side. Amtrak side doesn't matter. As Tony, you said, you know, a passenger, when they're paying fare to go A to B, they just want to get home. They want to get to work. They want to get home. They don't care whose fault it is. So what we're doing now is drilling that same cooperation we have at various levels really down into the field. There are a batch of steps that you mentioned and that are in the press release. But I think the most important thing is really that we're getting that transparency and drilling it down within the people who are on the field, and then also taking that communication that's going on in the field equally to then have that communicate that out to our riders ASAP. But for Amtrak, it's different intercity a bit. You know, one of the differences, you know, for us, a half-hour delay, you know, may not be as bad for intercity people riding Amtrak, but for us, that could be 60 trains, 70 trains, thousands of people who are on Twitter, they're frustrated. So we really need to get that.
Who can blame them?
Yeah, that's where we need to get, as we identify problems will come. We're bringing in outside expertise as well as being totally open and working together on an organized fashion here regularly. But we're also working on really getting that communication from the field reliable out as quickly to the customers.
Kevin used the phrase walk and chew gum at the same time, which I think is an important, nice frame. We are doing collectively, all of us, historic things on some of the biggest transit projects in the country, in the history of New Jersey, maybe in the history of the United States. The Portal North Bridge coming in ahead of schedule is a game changer, which Tony alluded to earlier. The Gateway Tunnel, Hudson River Tunnel project, game changers. Difference between one-seat rides and not, among other things. Service improved, etc. I say that because we have to both have that level of teamwork on the big stuff and on the minute-to-minute stuff, and I'm happy to say everybody in this room and their teams are committed to just that. The other reason to bring the big projects up, as they said when they were doing the big dig in Boston that was over budget and behind years, if Rome had been built in a day, we would have hired their contractor. Unfortunately, some of the stuff, the big fixes, are going to be measured in years. But when we get there, it'll be a whole different world thanks to the work that's being done by people in this room today. With that, we'll take a couple of questions. Could you speak up? Sorry.
Sorry. The hike that's coming up in July 1st, is it still fair given the ongoing issues for commuters who still look forward to that?
That's a decision for the board members. That's not my call. But I would remind everybody that it's a multi-pronged approach to solve the fiscal challenges at NJ Transit, and NJ Transit's not unique. Every big transit system in the country right now, particularly post-pandemic, is suffering a similar, broadly similar fiscal challenge, and there's a number of different answers to this, including a lot of the Lord helps those that help themselves. NJ Transit's hired the firm out there that helps you look in the mirror and restructure yourself. We've got the corporate transit fee that we've proposed, the fare you mentioned. The state will continue to shift money, so it's a multi-pronged effort. And again, we're no different. NJ Transit's no different. Look at the MTA challenges right across the Hudson River as one example.
A follow-up on that kind of question. Is it possible at all for a fare hike to be eliminated considering the budget deficit that NJ Transit is facing at this moment? Congressman Mike Sherrill today sent out a release saying they should rethink that. Is that even possible?
I have nothing to add on my last answer, but thanks for asking again.
Governor, you said a moment ago that these projects, the long-term projects, take years.
Yep.
Which is well said, but the fact is that the capital plan is extremely important. In the case of Jersey Transit, it seems you mentioned that there's disinvestment that's gone on for years. Christie did it, but we've done it also. Taking money out of the capital plan, putting it into operating the system. So,
Just with all due respect to the premise of your question, the capital plan is at a record high, and it's been that way for several years. So that's just a fact.
But you are taking money out of the capital plan and using it to run the operation, aren't you?
I don't believe we are. No.
No. Money that goes for capital, people are using that phrase, but it's money that is used to extend the life of existing assets.
Yeah, but it does go to the operation of the rail.
Can I ask you, what's the question, though?
The day-to-day operation.
No, it
Well, if
doesn't
you
go
extend the
that
life
way.
of an asset, I would view that as a capital. But what's the question?
So the question is, you promised years ago that you were going to fix New Jersey Transit if it kills you. But here we are.
I'm still alive. Yeah, but listen, what would you like me to say? We are beholden to infrastructure, and I guess you got a room of nothing but goodwill here, including our Amtrak partners. But you're dealing with realities, including ones that have built up over decades, that we're doing our very best to manage, including things that are technically, in some cases, out of our control. If you look at on-time performance, safety, customer satisfaction in NJ Transit on both rail and bus today, and you compare it to 7 years ago, it's night and day. It's still not perfect. We're still not done. We're on a journey. We clearly have challenges, but it is night and day. Please.
Governor, when's the last time you took New Jersey Transit, and when you did you find the service as frustrating as maybe you should use that?
I have largely had very good experience. It's been several months. I did it right around, I know for whatever reason, in the spring, around budget time. I got to get back on it. My experiences have been outstanding, and I've taken it deliberately over the years. I used to do it literally once a week pre-COVID, and I want to get back to some kind of cadence. But I deliberately have taken it in different parts of the state, and it's been a good experience. Larry?
This is a question.
You know, I was born in Boston. Are you deliberately offending me by reminding me that my Red Sox aren't that good?
Where you would say I was unfair.
Here you go.
The delegation has sent a letter to Amtrak, and of course, Congressman Frank Malone has spoken very, very clearly about wanting to use infrastructure money, specifically from the Biden infrastructure law, to start replacing the catenary now. Suggested that the state of good repair money that has $6 billion in it could be tapped. What's your response to Congressman Malone? Can that work get started using that pot of money?
Tony,
You
Steve?
spoke to.
Yeah, sure. I had a chance to talk to the congressman. So Amtrak received.
Steve, I'll bet they might want you to scooch over a little bit closer. Is that accurate?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just trying to help you out there. Please remember this.
So Larry, I had a chance to speak to Congressman Malone, and there are two different pots of funding that came to Amtrak directly, some for the Northeast Corridor, some for the rest of the network. We are looking to take some of those funds. Those funds were for a variety of needs across the whole Northeast Corridor. They cover our accessibility requirements, our fleet upgrades, our facility improvements. They also can be used for some state of good repair work. So we are looking to see if we can direct some of those funds to actions that come out of our investigation and joint prioritization with New Jersey Transit. Now, but I want to be clear, the big projects, those come and are funded through the Federal Railroad Administration's discretionary grants. So the US DOT got the bulk of the funding for passenger rail, and they award those funds for grants. And we in New Jersey Transit have to work together to apply for those funds. We have two projects potentially to apply for this year, one which would completely start the process of replacing the catenary between North Brunswick and Newark, and also to upgrade signal systems there. So those are the kind of long generational improvements that will fundamentally replace these aged assets with a high value, high reliability system that we can jointly go after and get in the ground. Where we've done that work, like what we did in central part of the state, it has resolved these issues with catenary. We need to continue that level of engagement, replacing these 19th century or 20th century assets with 21st century assets. We'll do that in partnership with New Jersey Transit, with New Jersey, focusing on the highest priorities that deliver reliability to riders.
Follow up on that is the question commuters would obviously want to know, how soon can we see this start to happen?
Well, so a really exciting part of this is that just in a year and a half from now or sooner, the Portal Bridge project will be done. That'll replace 3.5 roughly miles of catenary and signals right here in the most important part of this system, which is between Newark and New York Penn Station. And between all the projects that we have started, the Hudson Tunnel project, et cetera, that the governor mentioned, you're going to replace essentially the entirety of this system between Newark and Penn, where the tracks narrow down to 2 tracks, and we are now focused on building a 4-track reliable railroad. So relatively soon, that Portal Bridge project will start to address the issue here. We'll get started already. We've already started some of the initial work. We can get this additional funding, which we expect to be available this year if we apply for it, to begin all the work to the south and delivering a higher quality experience for riders for both New Jersey Transit and Amtrak.
Thank you, Steve. One more, please.
Now, there are some Republicans that have said these transit loads have, fallen also in the hands of the federal government, most more specifically the President and the Biden administration giving Amtrak's involved in federal dollars. Is there any thought about reaching out to the White House, talking with the President about these issues?
We talk to the White House all the time. I'll be with the President this weekend. But I don't agree. I say with respect, I don't agree with the premise. I think this has been the infrastructure federal administration, perhaps other than FDR, in the history of our country. They are, like we are in Jersey, like Amtrak is, like NJ Transit is, making up for lost time in many decades that came before them. So we work with them. Listen, I don't want anyone here to think that this is a perfect world. It is not, and there are challenges that are going to be really difficult for us to deal with. What we can do is maximize the coordinated effort. And I would say between Amtrak, NJ Transit, our administration, the feds, I've got no complaints on the maximizing the efforts reality. But we are making up for a long time in the past. Tony,
Governor,
you
yeah, can I just add to that, because I can sort of confirm for you that not only is the White House and the administration aware of it, but they are actually very proactive in engaging and encouraging that we do everything possible to remedy the situation from the outages from the disruption over the last several weeks. They recognize the problem because they are incredibly astute students of the problem, and they have been very demanding about wanting our company to be as supportive as possible to New Jersey Transit, to the governor, in reacting to this, even if it means committing additional resources, both in terms of people and capital, et cetera, to make it happen. So by no means should you think no one down there has noticed what's happened. They've not only noticed, but they have been very much in touch on almost a daily basis with both our CEO and myself about making sure that something's done about this. And let me just go back to one comment that the governor made, because two things I think have to come out of this. One is that the service over the last several weeks is unacceptable. So there's nothing I'm going to say or anyone else is going to say that, well, you don't really, it's not so bad, or don't think about it. It is bad, it shouldn't be bad, and we need to make it better. Having said that, I will also tell you that the people up here are running a relay, because we are stewards of assets right now, where we're holding the baton and we're running that relay, and we're trying to basically do our job and do it as well as we can. But we are following people who basically, when handed the baton, just kind of stared around and did almost nothing. So we're starting at kind of a deficit to fix those problems as we try to create service that has got the kind of reliability. It would be great if we had a brand new modern system, but we don't. And as Stephen mentioned to you, these are projects that may take a long time, but we will see the benefit right away. If 1/3 of the catenary that causes these disruptions potentially is going to be replaced as part of a portal bridge that's going to be done in a year and a half, that clearly should give people hope and reason to believe that we are getting to a better place. No excuse for not delivering it today. I agree with that completely, but there really needs to be a sense of acknowledgement that the people in charge of these assets recognize that what has to be done, and in fact are getting it done.
I'll just conclude by saying thank you for those comments, and thanks to each and every one of you for the spirit of goodwill. The service has been unacceptable. That is a unanimous opinion. We will commit everything we can, especially maximum effort, transparency, real-time solutions, to do everything we can to address this going forward. And we will accept no standard less than outstanding customer satisfaction. As we have said several times, having said that, we're making up for lost time. So please bear with us. We'll do the best we can, given we're talking about decades of underinvestment in all of these systems and all of these arenas. This is a substance-first approach. Let's get away from the blame game. Let's not play politics, which I suspect part of the reason that's come up from the question you had. I'm not saying that to you. I'm saying that that's the background. No time for that. Let's focus on substance. Let's deliver outstanding customer service. Everybody at this table is committed to that. Thank you all. So I gotta run into this.